You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
We're recording this and there's no sun up, which is always a very strange, it's a weird sensory thing when we record and it's not daytime.
Yeah, actually, I had our friend of the show, Kelsey Hennigan, walk by the place where I'm recording this right now, and I'm recording in the dark, which gives me like NPR vibes a little bit, which obviously if you're listening through these first, 25 seconds, you can tell we're not going for NPR, but it just makes me feel that way. That like I'm in a dark room like Terry Gross is whenever she interviews her interviewees.
Live from MILB.com in New York, I'm Tyler Maughan.
WMILB in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, man. So, hey, welcome in this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com, episode number 174. He is Sam Dykstra. My name is Tyler Maughan. We're bringing you all the latest in minor league baseball, and we got some good stuff coming up on the show today. Sam caught up with Gwinnett Braves pitching coach, the beautifully named Reid Cornelius today. We'll talk
Gwinnett Stripers.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I call them the Gwinnett Braves?
Yeah.
What year is this?
Old habits die
Who
hard.
am I? What's going on here?
Welcome to the Show Before the Show podcast from 2017.
Sorry, Stripers. My very first general manager in minor league baseball is the general manager in Gwinnett, and now I feel terrible. I'm sorry, North. I didn't mean that at all. So I'm gonna get an email from North Johnson with the Gwinnett Stripers, like, hey man, what's your deal? So the Gwinnett Stripers. I've had a very long couple of weeks. My brain is
you have.
Like
we should actually tell
capacity.
People where you are right now, because it's really cool. Like we should let people know how much you're doing to like broadcast this podcast right now.
Yeah, well,
where are you right now, Tyler?
I am currently in Cocoa Beach, Florida. We're actually set up at a very cool hotel situation. We're like right on the beach in Cocoa Beach, which is cool, and it's great because you can wake up every morning and look at the beach and then go, all right, I don't have any time to go to the beach today. I gotta go do stuff for work. So that's not a tease at all. But I'm broadcasting the 2018 Women's Baseball World Cup for WBSC, the World Baseball Softball Confederation. It is the 8th edition of the Women's Baseball World Cup. It is my 2nd edition as a broadcaster for the Women's Baseball World Cup, and yes, women's baseball. It is not softball. It is women's baseball. They play on fields, full-size base paths, 60-foot 6-inch mound, small ball, large field, not a big ball and a small field, as the legendary U.S. veteran Malika Underwood says. And this is it's a really cool competition. There are 12 countries, which matches the largest field in the history of the tournament. It'll be 50 games. We are actually producing and streaming all 50 games this year for the first time in tournament history. And it's been a lot of fun. We just got started today. We're recording this on Wednesday the 22nd. So I had a game this morning between Japan, which is the number 1 ranked team in the world. They've won 5 straight world championships in this tournament, and the Dominican Republic. And the Dominican Republic, first time entrant into the tournament, their team, they held Japan tight. I mean, it was a 2-0 game. These are only 7-inning games. It was a 2-0 game with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th, and then it was a handful of mistakes, and it kind of slipped away and ended up as an 8-0 loss. But, I mean, for your first game in the tournament, and they're like, congratulations, welcome to the competition. Go play the Yankees of this version of baseball. The DR was fun to watch, and I think they're going to hang in, make some noise in this tournament. So, yeah, we had 6 games today. We'll have 6 games a day for the next 4 days. We do broadcast double headers every day of the first few days of the tournament. It's myself, Craig Durham, a former radio voice in a handful of minor league markets, Dunedin, Mobile. He was in Helena for a little while. And for the first time ever, we have a woman broadcaster at the tournament. Kirsten Karbach, the phenomenal radio voice of the Clearwater Threshers, is here. And Kirsten
she writes for the site, too.
And she does. She does the Florida State League notebook for the site. Friend of the site.
Very much so.
I probably should have interviewed Kirsten for the podcast this week. Maybe next week.
I like that idea a lot, and I'm writing that down right now.
But Kirsten, it's funny because we met yesterday, and it was like the Spider-Man meme. It was like Kirsten and I have heard about each other for so long, and we've both been doing like bizarre writing and broadcasting things forever. And we finally met, and we're like, hey, I feel like I know you already. So Kirsten's here. She is the first woman broadcaster on the Women's Baseball World Cup, which is really cool. She did a doubleheader today and did fantastic work because that's all that Kirsten Carbuck does. So that's really cool. So she's here just for the opening round, and then we've got some different broadcast arrangements for what they call the Super Round, which is the next round, and then our championship coming up on Friday. But yeah, and this is on the heels of I did the U15 Baseball World Cup the last couple of weeks in Panama. So it's been like I bought a house. I closed on a house on August 6th, and then on August 8th, I left the country for like a month.
Yes, I was going to say.
Well, this is cool.
And then you don't go.
See you later. Yeah.
Don't get to see it. Yeah.
No,
well,
yeah.
You know, somewhere in Denver, there is property that is yours.
Apparently. That's what they tell me. And that's where all of my belongings are, in boxes. So I have that to look forward to when I get back. But yeah, so it's been cool. And if you do want to check out the streams, if you want to tune in, we got day games, so that's always fun. You can waste some of your work day. YouTube.com/WBSC. We've got our live streams there, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a different brand of baseball. It's kind of a more old school small ball type of ball because that's, sort of what the sport is on this side of it. But it's fun. And there's a really cool story in the Japan Times yesterday that quoted J.J. Cooper, who is I think he's now the editor of Baseball America, and JJ's quote was, these are some of the most dedicated baseball players on the planet, the women's national teams for these various countries, because they don't get anything handed to them. It's not a sport that is played by most women growing up. You kind of have to be willing to sacrifice a lot in order to continue playing baseball. You have to love the game a lot in order to continue pursuing baseball and not get pushed into softball. And nothing wrong with softball, but if you are a person who loves baseball, why shouldn't American girls and women be allowed to play baseball? They generally don't. They generally move into softball. There was a really cool quote in an SB Nation story about the United States women's team. Jennifer Ring, who is a professor of political science at the University of Nevada, Reno, and the author of a book called Stolen Bases, Why American Girls Don't Play Baseball. She said, quote, "The girls who are on this team are just two-fisted fighters for the game they love." And I thought that was really cool. So these games are fun. The teams are really talented, and it'll be cool to see how some of these countries that have not been playing the women's game at a high level for very long, how far they'll come along over the course of this tournament. So it'll be fun. It started today on the 22nd, and we wrap things up on August 31st. So tune in, waste some of your work days. There you go.
Yeah, no, there
There's
you go.
the plug.
I've already listened to some of it today. It was a lot of fun to listen and watch and today, all that kind of stuff. So
I'm doing a game. So this tournament's being hosted at the former home of the Brevard County Manatees, the former Florida State League team, and the former spring training home of the Washington Nationals. Prior to that, the Florida Marlins back in the day. But these facilities, these fields, the main stadium, the backfields, they've all been taken over by an organization called the USSSA, the United States Specialty Sports Association, and USSSA replaced all of the grass with artificial turf. So every playing field at this complex is turf, and not just like the grass areas, the base paths, the bases, the home plate area. There's no dirt around that. Even the mounds are artificial turf mounds. It's a little bit different for this tournament. They brought in a mound that actually has like a clay insert for the pitching lane there. But I was talking about it on the broadcast today and talking about, there just really aren't that many artificial turf playing fields in minor league baseball, and started naming off. I think I only had named West Virginia, which was the only one I could think of. And then I get this message from one Sam Dykstra that said, "Oh, Brooklyn is too." And I was like, Sam's tuned in right now. It was pretty cool. It was great. Thanks, buddy. That was awesome.
There are two ways you could have taken that. It could have been one, like, oh, Sam's listening to this. This is great. And like he's helping out and maybe acting like an assistant producer, or Sam thinks he can do this job and is trying to give me information and
Absolutely
not.
I have no idea how I do this job. So any help.
He doesn't think I'm like well, actuallying you. It was like, sir, actually.
No, it was good because I
think you'll
remember.
find.
Well, and I was having this conversation because Kirsten, we were talking about it yesterday when we met. She said that Daytona next year is purportedly getting artificial turf because they've had drainage issues at that ballpark in Daytona, the home of the Tortugas, which I'm not saying is breaking news or anything, but apparently that is the rumor that's out there for Daytona. So it's Brooklyn. I think State College may have artificial turf. I may have just made that up. State College, if you're listening and I made it up, I'm sorry. But there's only a few. There's not many. And so that's the thing. Like, if you're a baseball player, you generally don't play on artificial turf, like, ever. Maybe at the college level. It seems like collegiate surfaces more often than not, if they're going to be artificial turf, it happens more often at the college level. But it just doesn't happen that often. So that was the topic of conversation today.
Yeah, and for anybody who listened to the Brooklyn podcast we had, I talked to Carlos Cortez about that very briefly, and he said he actually likes playing on the turf, which surprised me. I feel like it's so much easier to skin a knee or something like that, playing on that type of artificial surface. But he said you get truer bounces. It's so much easier as an infielder. You don't have to worry about something funky happening in the grass. And and that's why we're journalists, right? We ask questions and we get surprising answers and you learn something. So some of these players actually like playing on that type of surface, and hopefully it leads to truer outcomes, especially in a tournament like this when, like you said, a lot of these women have been working a long time to get here, and you don't want games decided on a funky bounce at second base.
Absolutely. So if you want to tune in, let us know what you think. And with that, we'll get started on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. 3 Strikes is where we talk about the 3 most pressing issues in minor league baseball for the week. And strike 1, big-time promotions across the minor leagues over the last couple of days. On the pitching side especially, Michael Kopech of the Chicago White Sox, the 12th-ranked overall prospect in all of baseball, has made his jump to the major leagues. Michael Kopech, a guy who, on this podcast, we've been fans of for a really long time. And, for a while in his career, people were somewhat, I think, on the fence of whether or not he was going to get it figured out. And he has more than gotten it figured out since that trade from the Boston Red Sox to the Chicago White Sox. And a guy who really not only has put it together on the field, but I think has put it together off the field as well, which was the small concern coming over from the Red Sox organization. Michael Kopech has graduated in the major leagues. The Atlanta Braves continue to graduate talent from their minor league system. 2016 4th-round selection Bryse Wilson has already climbed from the high school ranks to the major leagues. He was a 2016 pick. He is 20 years old, and he's made his major league debut now. But, Sam, give me your reaction to these 2 promotions. I think at the beginning of the season, if you would have told us that Michael Kopech was going to be in the big leagues, probably not a surprise. Bryse Wilson probably would have been. Yeah,
and I feel like they're both surprising at this point in the season for completely separate reasons. Wilson, like you said, he's now the youngest pitcher to appear in a major league game this year. I talked to him back in the spring on my Braves trip. I felt like he was somebody who kind of gets lost a little bit in the shuffle in that Brave system that we've talked about, and you'll hear Reid Cornelius talk about this later. He'll touch on Wilson, but touching on guys like Colby Allard, Mike Soroka, Max Fried, Tuki Toussaint. That system is so loaded with arms that Bryse Wilson, a 4th-round pick in 2016, who has a good fastball, has a pretty good slider and an improving changeup, but always seemed to be, if somebody's going to be moving to the bullpen eventually, it looked like Wilson coming into the year, and he just answered the bell almost everywhere he went. He only lasted 5 starts at Florida, got the bump up to Double-A Mississippi. Numbers weren't so great. He had a 3.97 ERA, but his peripherals were so much better. Struck out 89 batters in 77 innings with Mississippi. Moves up to Gwinnett, gets 3 starts there. First 2 don't go so great. Sets a Gwinnett record with 13 strikeouts in that 3rd start, which is amazing because, again, you go through all those names that I talked about who have pitched for Gwinnett this year.
The Stripers.
The Stripers, yes. We should highlight that once more just to really make sure nobody else screws it up. The fact that so many this isn't a season record. It was like the club record for strikeouts by a starting pitcher, which was really neat. And the Braves, as they've done pretty much every time this year, Allard's gotten a major league start. Toussaint's got a major league start. Soroka was called up, in the first half of the season. The Braves, not only are they going for it this year and trying to get, back to NL East glory, they're willing to give guys chances if they prove themselves at AAA. And we're not talking about like, oh, we need to see 10 solid starts in a row from you. If you look ready, they're going to call you up. So, in kind of a vacuum, to see Bryse Wilson come up so much quicker than somebody like Ian Anderson or Kyle Muller or Joey Wentz, some of the other big names around his age group, he passed all the tests. He did everything that they looked to do. And it kind of reminded me last year of Acuna. Obviously, Wilson isn't nearly the prospect of Acuna and didn't perform as well at each level that Acuna did. But last year, Acuna started out of Florida, moved to Mississippi, moved to Gwinnett, and got better at each level. They still didn't call him up because at the time the Braves weren't competing. They didn't need to burn service time with him. They didn't need a spot start in the outfield, something like that. Now they're going all hands on deck. They're using everything that they can, everything at their disposal. So if a pitcher coming off a 13 strikeout start in AAA looks ready and his slot opens up at the same time they have an opening in the major league level, they're going to use that to their advantage. And, they did. Wilson came up, very much looked, not like a rookie. 5 scoreless innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Did everything they wanted out of him. They optioned him back the next day. That's how that goes. But the Braves continue to do this season, and that's why I wanted to bring Reid Cornelius on this year. Just talk about what they're doing at Gwinnett, how it's kind of different this year from last year in terms of if a guy's ready, he's getting that call this year, whereas last year they would kind of hold him back a little bit. But moving on to Kopech, you mentioned how good he's been of late. The thing with Kopech has always been, yes, he might have the best fastball in the minor leagues, can consistently throw in the upper 90s, going to touch 100 occasionally. That's going to lead to some crazy strikeouts, has a very close to being a plus slider. That's going to work every time, in the minors, racking up strikeouts. But let me review his stats over his last 7 starts with Charlotte. He had a 1.84 ERA, 59 strikeouts, and only 4 walks. Now, it's that control that's always been a problem with him. He can blow it past anybody, but it's trying to get that in the zone. He had not walked more than 2 batters in any of those final 7 starts. His last 3 starts came without a walk, which is really, really interesting. But what made this a surprise for me is that the White Sox are in that position that the Braves were last year. They're not competing. The AL Central,
right?
It's the Indians and then everybody else. It's not even close. So why bring him up now? They're not going to do it with Eloy Jimenez. Jimenez obviously didn't start the year in Charlotte. Kopech has been there all year. It's a little more difficult to make the case, especially as good as he's been of late, that, he needs a little bit more seasoning. We're going to need to start him out at AAA again next year. But that being the case, we've seen that happen over and over and over again, whether it's Acuna, whether it's Chris Bryant a couple of years ago. The White Sox being in the position that they are, I fully believed that Kopech was going to let the season end in 2 weeks in Charlotte, and then he would be back with the Knights in April. And by April 25th or so, he's magically ready, and that's how it was going to go. They were going to delay his service time by an extra free agency year. They still might be able to do that. Maybe they send him back to Charlotte to begin next year and just hold him back even longer. But the fact that Rick Hahn is willing to do that now with a prospect that is really ready is very refreshing. I want them to follow through on this. I want Kopech to continue to get major league starts, continue to impress and get that chance that he's so well earned. He only threw 2 innings in his major league debut. A lot of that had to do with the rain. But in that game he pitched against the Twins, he, again, was back to his usual self, throwing the upper 90s. In that game, I think he had the 17 fastest pitches in the game, all of which were above 97 miles an hour. So he's going to continue to do this. I want to see him work deeper. I want to see him work more into September. But in a way that Wilson was surprising, Kopech was surprising in a different way, and in a refreshing way, and in a way that I hope continues to happen with guys who do prove themselves at the AAA level.
Well, let's continue that conversation with Strike 2 this week. Those are not the most surprising, probably, promotions of the 2018 season. What stands out to you right now, Sam, from 2018, maybe the most memorable or the most surprising or the most unorthodox promotions? Obviously, Juan Soto is probably the one that's grabbed everybody's attention at the major league level. What else about 2018 for call-ups and promotions has stuck out to you?
Yeah, so the reason why we're talking about this is it was the Wednesday tool shed came out today, and it seemed like everything kind of came together, a little bit of a perfect storm. Kopech coming up for his reasons, Wilson coming up for his reason. I just wanted to look back in terms of what were some of the more unorthodox promotions of the year, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, like, there's usually a pretty well set standard of, and we talked about this on the show before, somebody starts out the year at a certain place around the All-Star break, they get their All-Star recognition. If they've done really well, then they get moved up for the second half. They stay there in the second half for the rest of the year. That's usually how things go, especially at the lower levels. Some of these guys, Juan Soto, you mentioned, he was number one on my list. They prove themselves, and then they get bumped, and then they get bumped again, and then they get bumped again. And a lot of these organizations that we're talking about, specifically the Nationals, have trusted their players. They know what they have in them. They're not looking for just statistics. They're looking for other things. And to give these guys these chances and to see them perform so well is really exciting. I'll just continue talking about Soto because I feel like he gets not lost in the shuffle, but like the shine comes off because we love the shiny new thing. We love talking about Bryse Wilson, how quickly he came up, and that's
kind of
great.
Amazing to think about a 19-year-old and be like, he's not the shiny new thing anymore.
Yeah, he's old news, but he's 19 still. He's still 19. He's not turning 20 until October 25th.
19, he's old. He's used up. Nobody cares anymore.
I did a tool shed at the beginning of the year that was like, okay, Ronald Acuña's got called up. He's likely to be the youngest player in Major League Baseball this year, and here's all the reasons why, and here's who could even come close to beating him. And I put on a thing at the bottom that was like top 100 prospects who are technically younger than Acuña, very unlikely to get called up. Soto's name was on that list because at the time he was still in Hagerstown. He was in Class A. He only played 39 games in the minors this year before they called him up as a 19-year-old, and they called him up from AA. They didn't even give him AAA time. And right now he's hitting 289, 413, 518. He is one of the best teenage hitters we've ever seen. This race between him and Acuña to win the NL Rookie of the Year is going to be really exciting because they're both going to earn it on the merits. And it's just really cool to see that, he was a guy I talked to in the spring as well. And you could tell, like, this is a kid who just understands hitting. He knows exactly what he needs to do to hit, and to get those guys those chances and not use all this jargon of player development of, he needs to do this, he needs to hit this, we need to see a little bit more maturity out of him. No, if you see that maturity, give them their chance and you'll be rewarded handsomely, as these guys have been. And I'll keep beating the drum for that. But some of the other unorthodox promotions that I wrote up for that. So that was number one. Number two, I put Bryse Wilson to the majors just because, being a 20-year-old, being what he is in that system, did not expect him to be in the majors this season. Really cool to see him get that chance. Number three is Luis Garcia, another Nationals prospect, a futures gamer. This year, he got bumped up to Class A Advanced as an 18-year-old. I remember talking to the Nationals about that, and they said, yes, he has been an okay hitter at Class A Hagerstown, but he's been mature. He's been consistent in the field. He's done everything we've asked. He continues to grow. He's ready for this challenge, and they gave it to him. And, he's performed as well at Potomac as he did at Hagerstown, and also this promotion allows them to get him more reps at shortstop, which he so desperately needs. Kind of fun little note here. He hit 297 at Hagerstown. He's hitting 297 currently at Potomac. His OPS at Hagerstown, 737. His OPS at Potomac, 751. As consistent as they get. And that's one thing they really liked in him, and one thing they're continuing to get it out of him after the promotion. Number four, I'll just do the top five. Jonathan Loaisiga, going from essentially coming into the year, he only had 2 1/3 innings of experience or at Class A or above. He was originally signed by the Giants. The Yankees kind of picked him up a couple years later after some injuries. He underwent Tommy John surgery after those 2 1/3 innings at Class A Charleston. They gave him some rehab outings last year at the lower levels, rookie levels, in Class A short season. Really trusted the stuff. They add him to the 40-man. And then when a spot opens up this year, they push him again. He proved his health. The stuff is back. He's shown really, really special control, and that's something that's always going to play in the major leagues. But still, to see him get that chance after so little experience in the minors was really cool. So I have him at number 4. And Joe Adell, who we've talked about plenty on the podcast, his ascension this year he is a first-round pick, but still he is a high schooler. This is somebody who's still getting used to playing every day. And to see him go from Class A Burlington to Class A Advanced Inland Empire to his current spot at AA Mobile, and at every stop show that he is a 5-tool monster, has been really, really fun. If you get a chance, check out his Twitter page. He did this really cool kind of like and one mixtape redub. I don't know what you want to call it, but of an outfield assist he did, and it's just so good. As he's throwing it to third base, the umpire, declares the guy out, and the music perfectly syncs up with the umpire saying "woo." It's very good. It's a great use of social media and kind of understanding who you are and being excited about who you are as a player. Love to see that stuff. So those are the top 5 like unorthodox promotions. I did a top 10. You can check it out on the site. It's the most recent tool shed.
And strike 3 this week, Sam. The California League and the Midwest League have announced their awards for the 2018 season, the postseason All-Star recognition, and all those types of things. Ryland Bannon standing out in the California League. What else? Give us some highlights from these 2 circuits in their postseason awards.
Yeah, so for the California League, you brought up Ryland Bannon. He was named the MVP. A couple things I want to bring out right from the start that are weird. A, we're talking about California League end-of-season All-Stars already. There's still 2 weeks left in the season.
2 weeks left in the regular season.
Yeah, not that anything wild is going to happen, and a lot of the guys we're going to talk about here have actually already been promoted. That being said, things can change. You never know. I'd like to have full information before talking about like who was the actual MVP of a league in a season. So that's thing number 1. That's fine. California League, Midwest League, you run your leagues however you want. Number 2, Ryland Bannon named the MVP of the California League. He's also named the Rookie of the Year, which is kind of funny because having a Rookie of the Year in a minor league in which
it's
I won't say a majority.
In which the goal isn't there to be, to return at any point. It's always kind of funny for that designation to pop up in a minor league.
Right. But, I mean, it's another piece of hardware for Ryland Bannon. God bless him. But Ryland Bannon got the utility spot on the California League postseason All-Star team. Couldn't even get like one of the positions that he actually plays. He even though he's the MVP, he's technically the utility man on the postseason All-Star team. Just kind of funny. He did split time this year between third base and second base, so I guess it kind of makes sense from that point of view, but pretty funny. The other funny thing about Ryland Bannon being named the MVP of the Cal League is that he no longer plays in an organization that has an affiliate in the Cal League. The way he got out of the Cal League is he was traded from the Dodgers to the Orioles, part of that Manny Machado deal, but still put up a really strong season during his time with Class A Advanced Rancho Cucamonga. 296 average, 402 OBP, 961 OPS, 20 homers, 61 RBIs in 89 games. So certainly tick all the boxes to make that work. And it has been a breakout first season for him. He was an 8th-round pick out of Xavier in 2017. So put himself on the map, obviously, to be acquired by the Orioles for an all-star major leaguer. Really cool for him. And that, not only does that translate in a bump up to AA Bowie where he is now, he was promoted immediately after the trade, but also getting an MVP award. Over in the Midwest League, I kind of like that the Midwest League does this. They name a prospect of the year. That was given to Royce Lewis, who predictably was the Midwest League shortstop on the postseason All-Star team. His Cedar Rapids teammate at the time, Alex Kirilloff, also given a spot in the outfield. So those are 2 top 100 prospects on the Midwest League end-of-season All-Stars. MVP there, somebody who I feel like we haven't talked about that much, and he's certainly done all the things that make you want to talk about him, is Elihuris Montero. Cardinals prospect, hit .321 with a .381 OBP, .910 OPS, 15 homers, 3 triples, 28 doubles in 102 games. Somebody who's slowly come up through the Cardinals system, shown some good pop in the past, but really took things off this year. Had five homers last year in the Gulf Coast League, bust that open to, like I said, 15 this year with Peoria. He's currently with Palm Beach, but he's improved now to the point where he's the number 8 prospect in that Cardinal system. He was not ranked among their top 30 prospects entering the year. So there's some real power from him from the right side, a good arm at third base. Is he going to stick there long term? We'll have to kind of see. But really exciting stuff for him from a 20-year-old third baseman climbing the ladder. So check those out. We'll have more of these kind of rolling in. These don't come from us. Like, I have to stress this every year, because I remember a couple of years ago, one prospect's dad reached out to me and said, "Why didn't you name my son the Gulf Coast League shortstop of the year?" And it was not my call. I just write these up. Or whoever we have writing them up. These come from the leagues themselves.
Yeah, dads.
So
dads everywhere.
Yeah, dads. I appreciate
Who was it, Sam?
The fire. I'm not going to say.
Just kidding.
No. I'll tell you off air, Tyler.
Yes.
But the
privileged information, everyone.
Yeah. But no, these will roll out, some of which will still come in before the season ends, some of which will come out right when the season ends after Labor Day. But keep checking back on the site, and we'll obviously be tweeting these out and sharing these through all the various social channels.
So that is our 3 strike segment for episode number 174 of the Show Before the Show. Coming up, Sam is going to go to the Gwinnett Stripers of the AAA International League, where he is going to catch up with the terrifically named Stripers pitching coach Reid Cornelius about his talented staff in 2018. A whole lot more coming up next.
Joining us on this week's edition of the Minor League Baseball podcast is Gwinnett Stripers pitching coach Reid Cornelius, calling into us before a big doubleheader tonight on Wednesday. Reid, thanks for taking the time. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to be here.
Great. Thanks again for being here. So, before we get going, I just want to kind of set the table. I was writing all these names down before the interview started, and why I wanted to talk to you this week in particular. This is a list of the pitchers who have played for or pitched for Gwinnett this year, who have also pitched in Atlanta for the Major League Club. It's probably not an exhaustive list. There's probably a few names I may have missed, but just to give our listeners an idea of how long that list is: Colby Allard, Wes Parsons, Max Fried, Luis Gohara, Miguel Sokolovich, Evan Phillips, Touki Toussaint, Rex Brothers, Luke Jackson, Bryce Wilson, Josh Ravin, Chase Whitley, Jesse Biddle, Chad Zabaka, Lucas Sims, and Matt Whistler have been traded to the Reds, but they also fit that category. There have been a lot of guys kind of rotating through both Gwinnett and Atlanta this year for exciting reasons. What has it been like to kind of work with this staff specifically this year when you are going through that many pitchers in a year?
Oh, it's fun. I mean, you see the raw stuff, and for the most part, we've got very mature kids. There's no excuses. They come to the park every day ready to work. They feed off of each other, and they pull for each other. So it's been a fun season in that regard. These guys have tremendous stuff. They have tremendous upside, and the future's looking bright for these guys.
Yeah, and how much does that rub off on each other when you do see guys like, and we'll touch specifically on these guys later, but somebody like Touki Toussaint, who comes up pretty quick with you guys and then gets his first Major League debut, or especially Bryce Wilson this week, fitting that mold as well, coming up after I only think 3 starts. Do guys get excited knowing that they're that close, knowing that the Braves are willing to take a chance? Is that something you feel in the locker room?
Yeah, I think that they understand that the hot hand will be the guy to go if there's a need at the big league levels. And, the Braves have shown they're not afraid to use a young guy with the 20-year-olds we've sent up there that have held their own. And I think each one of them feel like they can do the job that it's called upon. They're prepared. Like I said, the work ethic is outstanding for these guys, and the stuff is really good. And it's fun to watch as one guy's called up. It's not like why wasn't it me? It's more a genuine happiness for each guy, and they're really pulling for those guys when they go up there.
Yeah, and I think we saw a little bit of that this week when Wilson got caught up, and just the excitement in terms of guys tweeting. I know Touki was very excited about it, so that's been really cool to see. But do you feel like this is something with the Braves' philosophy that they are willing to trust these guys, or is it just the group of prospects that they've collected over the years, part of this rebuild process? It's just the right group, or is it something about an organizational philosophy that they are more willing to trust. Somebody like Wilson, who's 20, Mike Soroka, who's around the same age, Colby Allard, 2021. Is that an organizational thing, or is it just this specific group of prospects, you think?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's the evaluation of the kids and the stuff, and then the fact that these guys are made right. There's no doubt in their minds that they're going to succeed, and there's no excuses. If they come back, hey, I didn't pitch well. All right, let's get back to work. Or, I threw well, I felt good. There's not a need right now. Let's go back to work. And there's never a moment where you see them pouting or see them down. They're constantly on the grind, constantly doing what they need to do and preparing to help in any way.
Yeah, and what kind of conversations do you have when they come back? Because somebody like, Touki Toussaint pitched 6 strong innings in his debut. I think only gave up 1 run. Bryse Wilson didn't give up any runs in his debut, got optioned the next day. What conversation do you have with them when they show back up in your locker room? And it's like, you did as well as you probably could, but here you are anyway.
Yeah, it's just basically, hey, the need was there. You went up and did the job, and you're back here. Just be prepared for the next time, because it could be tomorrow, it could be 5 days from now, it could be 6 days from now, it could be a week. But the bottom line is to not anything that would obstruct your vision or your goal going back there, and your work process and the preparation to go back up there and do the job. You may be pitching the best, and all of a sudden you pitch today and the heat is tomorrow. So it might be the next guy. That's just the way the game falls in that regard. Each continue to do your work, prepare as best you can. When you take the ball here, go out and do the job. And that's basically the way we look at it. It's, it could be anybody at any time right now that's pitching well, and you just have to be prepared when your name's called.
Yeah, and speaking of somebody who got their name called this week, as we mentioned, Bryse Wilson got the call up this week, became the youngest pitcher to appear in a minor league game this year, or a major league game, which I think took a lot of people back because he started the year at Class A Advanced Florida. You got him for 3 starts. Like I said, he's been optioned back, so you'll probably get him for a few more here. The last thing he did before he got called up was set a Gwinnett record with 13 strikeouts. That's a pretty good way to push your way to the majors. But what did you see in him in those first 3 starts that told you, maybe he was major league ready, considering where he started the year and where he is as a pitcher now?
He throws strikes with the tremendous fastball. He's not afraid. He's coming at you. He's like, here I am, hit it. And, he's got power with the fastball. He's still fine-tuning his secondary pitches. He has thrown some very good change-ups, and the slider has given us some depth at times. And like I said, it's about being consistent with those 2 pitches and having the trust that he does in his fastball. Because I'll tell you, the last game we saw him here, before he went to the big leagues, he could have pitched just with a fastball and probably won that game, because it was an impressive start. And he's missing bats. He's moving it to both sides of the plate, up and down. And like I said, with the power that he has, he was beating hitters, and it was a great night for him.
Yeah, and in terms of working on those off-speed pitches for him, specifically the changeup, what do you need to do with him to make that a kind of major league ready pitch and something that he can trust to kind of throw whenever and kind of round out that profile?
Yeah, he just has to keep using it in the game. The best experience he's going to gain is when he's out there facing hitters. And watching his big league debut, he threw some good changeups. And you see there's a little sink to it. It's a little bit firmer than some changeups, but if he throws it aggressively and gets, good hand speed at the end, he gets good action at the plate, which is what we want. And sometimes you see guys swing and miss. Sometimes they put it in play, and basically we're looking for him to get him to miss-hit it, so he doesn't have to throw another pitch and get an out on that pitch. But it's just a matter of him continuing to work on it in the bullpens, and continuing to use it in the games. Because if he doesn't throw it, it's not going to get any better. But he has a tendency, to rely on that fastball. And if that fastball is working, there's no reason not to rely on it. But to keep in mind, hey, I still need to use some change-ups and pick good spots to use them in the counts and in the lineup.
Yeah, and moving on to another guy who made his debut 9 days ago from when we're recording this, Touki Toussaint, kind of another spot start. It was a day start. Got sent down pretty quick, but he's been with you guys for 6 starts so far. I talked to him at the Futures game this year, and a big thing for him going back to his days even with the Arizona Diamondbacks has kind of been control. The stuff has always been there. Fastball is electric. Curveball is one of the best I've ever seen in the minors, but it's just in terms of getting that over the plate, getting it into the strike zone. That seems to be an improvement he's made this year. What have you guys done with him to kind of work on that and harness the stuff that has been so good, obviously, to push him to the majors?
I think they did a great job with him when he was in Double-A. Vince Llewellyn down there had him for a good bit of this season. And when Touki came up here, he's been in the strike zone. He's thrown strikes. He's been aggressive. The biggest thing that Touki talks about and works on here lately is just keeping his posture going to the plate and allowing his, sometimes he gets a little more bent at the waist and he drops a little bit in the slot and the ball runs rather than sinks. When he stays upright, a little bit taller with his posture, the ball sinks really well. And, like I said, he's been aggressive in the zone also, throwing strikes, and, it's just a matter of him getting, again, more experience out there on the mound. And that's basically what most of these guys need. They just need to continue to go out there, base hitters, see how their stuff plays, remember their strengths, and work on the weaknesses when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, and one other guy make his major league debut latter half of the season, but has been with you guys pretty much all year. Everybody we've talked about so far has come up late, but Colby Allard has been with you guys pretty much all season, continues to put up impressive numbers. The thing on the scouting report with him is he's always going to pitch in the zone kind of in a different way to Touki. He's always going to fill up the zone. He's always going to, compete out there and put up strong numbers. The stuff isn't quite as electric as some of these other guys, but he's got a 2.80 ERA this year. I think that's 5th in the IL. What allows him to make that package work if he's not going to be throwing elite velocity or things like that? How has he been able to be so successful at the minors top level this year?
I think his fastball, while the radar gun doesn't say it's as electric as some other guys, it plays up a little bit. It's got good ride to it, or hop, if you want to say that. It seems to jump on hitters in the strike zone. Seems to have good carry through the strike zone. And he's able to move it from down the way to righties to up and into righties and stick that fastball in there. And the changeup has improved and still working on the breaking ball. And as that package continues to improve, he's going to continue to get better. But the guy's in the strike zone. He's not scared. He attacks hitters, and he really relies on his fastball. And he can get by with some high fastballs, and he's pitching at the top of the zone, even though the radar gun says it's not quite the fastball some of the other guys have. It still plays up. And like I said, there's no fear in this guy. He comes to the ballpark ready to pitch, and he's like, I'm ready to throw some zeros up. Let's go get him. And he hits some spots, gets them out. And that's basically every time he approaches the game, it's not about missing basketball when he hits some spots and gets them out. And that's what I think makes him so successful.
And is that something you guys talk about with him? Somebody that may not have the stuff to get strikeouts, that they should be pitching more to contact, or is that something you feel like something either Colby or other pitchers to learn on their own, that they are going to be more contact pitchers?
Yeah, we encourage them to relish contact, to get poor contact more times than not. And if you're trying to get poor contact, if you have electric stuff, you have really good stuff, you're probably going to get the strikeouts because you're going to be ahead in the count 0-2, 1-2. And then you can go to your put-away pitches. So, we encourage guys to force contact, to get these guys out of the box 3-4 pitches or less, and see where it goes. Because if you get bad contact, more times than not, we're going to pick that ball up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one guy who does have pretty good swing and miss stuff is Kyle Wright, last year's first-round pick. Braves have obviously been very aggressive with him, starting him out at Double-A to begin the year. He's made 4 starts with you guys, struck out 25 and 25 2/3 innings so far. Being somebody who was in college last year, how do you feel like he's handled that adjustment to Triple-A? I know the SEC is obviously a good conference. He comes from a good pitching school in Vanderbilt, but to be where he is already is really significant. How do you feel like he's handled that adjustment to Triple-A, and what's been the most eye-opening thing about working with him so far?
Yeah, I think he handled it very well. He's a mature kid. He's got a workman's attitude. He comes to the park, hey, what are we working on today? You can ask him that question. This is what I want to do. Okay, side day, what are we looking at? This is what we're going to do. Okay, sounds good. He's pitched well. He's another guy that has a power fastball. He has a couple breaking balls, and he's still working on the changeup. The changeup has been good for him. And the fact that, he's at a level at AAA where you got some guys that have played in the big leagues, some big league experienced guys that know how to do damage and triple counts and things like that, that all of our guys, and Kyle included, are understanding, hey, I can't just throw this ball right down the middle here and expect an out. I'm going to go ahead and make a quality pitch and get the results I want. But, he's been as good as we can expect him to be. And he, like I said, he comes to the ballpark every day ready to work, and it's a no-nonsense attitude he has. There's no panic. We ask questions, we talk, and, we go from there. But it's just been fun watching him grow as a pitcher also.
Yeah, and when you mentioned he's now getting to work with guys who have been in the major leagues before, when guys do come back down like that after so quick, do you feel like they're sharing information about what that is like? I mean, how much are they? How much is a competition for these guys to come up and try to beat each other out for that next spot start, and how much are they trying to improve each other and bring back scouting reports based on what they've seen?
I think they're pulling for each other. Of course, there's a competition because every one of these guys, their ultimate goal is to be in the big leagues and be successful in the big leagues. And they come down, they talk about exactly what happened, how they pitched, and the other guys that were down here in AAA, they watched those starts, and they're like, hey, you did this good, you did this good, this looks really good. And they do that outing to outing. You'll see these guys watching video together at times, scouting reports on other hitters. They're curious, they're asking questions, they're looking for information, and, they use it and they apply it when they go out there. It's something special because you look down the bench and you'll see these 5 guys, all sitting together. They're all sitting together watching the ball game, talking about pitching, come over and ask questions about certain situations. So the competition that they have between each other doesn't interfere in their relationship, and it definitely pushes all of them to be better.
Yeah, and one more individual guy I just want to ask about quick is Luis Gohara. He returned on August 16th through 3 2/3 innings, 54 pitches, coming off kind of a left shoulder issue for him. What's his status been of late? I know he's returned now, so he's probably scheduled to come back pretty soon. But what kind of year have you seen him go through? Because it's been a rough year both on the injury side and the results side. He's got a 5.14 ERA and 11 starts with you guys. What kind of year has it been for Gohara, and what have you seen out of him now that he's back?
Yeah, he's had some minor injuries, but nothing serious. He still has a swing and miss slider, and he's still, trying to get healthy right now. He'll be pitching the back end of the doubleheader for us tonight. It'll be a second start since the 29th of July. So if he continues to work, he's going at it, just basically trying to get his stuff under wraps, because there's been some good things and some bad things, but the biggest thing is for him to be on the mound so that he can improve and can get into a good rhythm, so that if he's needed at the big league level, they'll be ready to call him off.
Gotcha. All right, we'll end on kind of a fun one, Reid. Looking over your bio, one of the things I like to ask guys about when I get the chance is, what experience they had with the Montreal Expos. You got some experience, obviously. You were drafted in the 11th round of the 1988 draft by the Expos, coming up through them. You played 3 major league seasons with them. You also got some time in Ottawa, which is now another defunct Canadian team. What kind of memories do you have of playing either with Ottawa or Montreal? Some of these places that are now closed in Canadian baseball, but you obviously got to spend some time there before they got closed down.
It was always I got nothing but positive memories. Montreal, Ottawa, a lot of the Canadian cities we played in. It seems like it was very fun. It was very interesting. Montreal was loaded with some talent. I was fortunate enough to be around some very special players there, and you get to learn from them and hopefully improve. The competition we had in the minor league there was outstanding. We had a lot of good pitching prospects, a lot of good hitting prospects there. But both the cities, Ottawa and Montreal were great cities. The people were great, and it always seemed like the place was geared to be outdoors because I'm sure they don't get out a whole lot in the winter. But the jogging trails, bicycle trails, it seems like everybody, as soon as that sun came out, everybody was outside, and it was packed on the parks and things like that. But just special places and good memories.
Yeah, very cool. And Montreal always felt like it was kind of in an era of rebuild. But the Braves now, you joined the organization last year. I've been part of the Marlins for a long time. Last year was definitely a rebuild. Now it's not. What is it like going through that transition from last year? You were a pitching coach of a team that was just trying to foster talent, just trying to grow everybody. Now you're growing it into legit major league talent. What has the change been like between 2017 and 2018 for you?
It's not much of a change. I mean, it's a little bit more expected of the guys when they go up there now. We're still just trying to produce major league players, get guys ready to pitch in the big leagues, and to remind them, hey, there are certain things you need to work on here. Doesn't matter if, you go out there and just pitch with just your fastball today. You might want to throw a few breaking balls because when you get to the big leagues, you're going to need to do that. So don't forget about that. You want to remember what your strengths are, but remember there are some other areas you're going to have to use and need to focus on improving those to get to the big leagues. And, I mean, it's been a blast to watch the Braves do what they've done. I mean, I think it's caught everybody by surprise a little bit. Talented players up there playing very well. And like I said, we've seen several of the kids that played here last year, this year, go up there and help. And it's just been a really fun year.
All right, well, that's all I have for you. Reid Cornelius, pitching coach of the AAA Gwinnett Stripers in the Atlanta Braves system. Like we just said, very exciting year, very, very exciting couple weeks with all the guys getting called up. Reid, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck the rest of the way down there in Gwinnett.
Hey, thanks a lot, Sam. I appreciate it.
Well, normally Tyler gets to introduce these segments, but I'll be the one to bring Benjamin Hill into the show this week. It's just the two of us. Do you want to say where you're sitting, or should I say where I'm sitting? How does this work now that it's just the two of us?
Well, I was going to let it develop naturally, but now we're kind of on the spot. I am Ben Hill, sitting to Sam Dykstra's left in conference room 5M in the Chelsea.
5N.
5N, I'm sorry. So if you were trying to locate us.
Yeah.
5N.
24 hours after we talk about all this stuff.
Yeah, we are in it's a very nice conference room. Not much to speak of in the way of decor. But there's lights and chairs and a table, and we're good to go.
And internet, thankfully, so we can actually record this. And
yeah,
all the amenities we need.
We've got everything we need. Why don't we just set up camp here and stay a while?
This is our new office space. If anybody needs to find us for the next 2 weeks of the season, this is where we'll be working out exclusively.
That's right.
So this past weekend was a really cool one for you. You got to go back to your home state of Pennsylvania. Got to go see the Williamsport. Well, you got to go to Williamsport, we should say, and you got to go to State College. Williamsport, you were there for the Little League game between the Phillies and the Mets. Major League Baseball taking over a minor league stadium. What was the atmosphere like for that? I think a lot of people kind of got to see what it was like in terms of, Rhys Hoskins talking to Big Al, major leaguers interacting with little leaguers. But what was it like from the minor league side and seeing a stadium like that where the Crosscutters play taken over by, the big leagues?
That was a truly surreal experience. I mean, this game happened on Sunday night. It was on Sunday Night Baseball. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably understand the concept behind it. But it does take a little explanation. It's the Little League Classic featuring a major league game at a minor league field. So it's not maybe the most intuitive thing going. But Bowman Field, where the game is played, it was last Sunday night between the Mets and the Phillies. It's the home of the Crosscutters usually. It's a 92-year-old stadium. I mean, one of the oldest professional ballparks in the country. Capacity 2,500, and they're playing a major league game there. And what I focused on in my story, which you can read on the website milb.com.
Great website.
Yeah, it's really cool. For those keeping score at home, it's the official website of minor league baseball. I focused on the minor league side of it in terms of I spoke to Gabe Sinacrapi, the vice president of marketing for the Cutters. Kind of what's it like on their end? They're running a comparatively bare bones Class A short season operation. They have something like maybe 5 full-time employees. And then all of a sudden, there's a major league game there once a year, last year and this year, and it's going to continue into 2019 as well. And, what really struck me about this, and in talking to Gabe, is the amount of planning that goes into this game. Yes, on the baseball schedule and the Major League schedule, it's 1 out of 162, but Major League Baseball sets up their so-called operations compound outside of the ballpark about 3 weeks prior to the event. So you go to the stadium for the Little League Classic, and you don't just pull up to the ballpark. It's basically surrounded by tents and trailers, the operations compound of Major League Baseball, who are running virtually every aspect of the event. So it's kind of surreal for the team to kind of have to step back and then just not really be a part of the operation. And, in talking to Gabe, he was like, it's as if someone comes to your house and says, we're going to stay for 3 weeks, and, on the last night, we're going to have a party.
Yeah.
And
invite all of our friends and all that. The quote that he used, that was my favorite from your story, I think.
Yeah, it's a good quote. I mean, and as he told me, it's a little disconcerting. I think he and the team had more problems with it last year in terms of how to balance it and work this out with Major League Baseball coming in and the sort of, I don't want to say turf wars, because I think war is a strong term, but the tension that results from having to sort of cede large aspects of your operation and just have it out of your control, both for the game itself and also for a lot of the time leading to the event. So it's a really strange thing to be happening in a minor league baseball context. But for any hassles that occur for the team, and operationally it's difficult for them, because again, Major League Baseball is there for 3 weeks prior to the event, and they're still running, they're in the midst of their, cross-cutters are playing. They're in the midst of the New York Penn League schedule, so their parking gets messed up, and they're operationally they're a little conflicted. But at the end of the day, what do they have? I mean, they have a major league game taking place in their field, and as Gabe told me, we are the center of the baseball universe right now, and they really are. The Sunday night game during the Little League World Series, Williamsport, PA, of all places, is literally the center of the baseball universe for the time that this is taking place. And not to mention, I mean, obviously Bowman Field is up to professional minor league baseball standards just by virtue of being a minor league team, and Major League Baseball and minor league baseball, have an agreement in place through the PBA, professional baseball agreement, about the standards that facilities must be kept up to. But there's a difference between the standards that Major League Baseball has for a minor league affiliate versus the standards that Major League Baseball has for playing an actual major league game on the field. So a huge benefit of this for the crosscutters and for Bowman Field has been what Major League Baseball has done to the field in order to play the Little League Classic. I mean, to the field itself, an all-new playing field, new seats, a new party area down the right field line, a batter's eye installed, where there's like camera wells from center field, which you don't see very often in a minor league ballpark. The bullpens are now behind the outfield fences, like a major league club would have in most cases, as opposed to being down the lines. And you could go on and on. So there's been a tremendous facelift for an older facility, which was in decent enough shape as it was, but a tremendous facelift for Bowman Field as a result of the Little League Classic. A lot of publicity for Williamsport and the Crosscutters operation just by virtue of being involved, and having been there, just a really cool event to witness. I mean, it was surreal for me too to be in the kind of hanging out in the camera well area down the first base line, leaning over the fence, watching the game, and constantly having to remind myself this is a major league game that's counting in the standings between the Mets and the Phillies. I mean, it was absolutely surreal. But for me, it was a very different night because usually I'm doing my thing, got the designated eater, might take part in a between inning contest, doing random interviews of ballpark characters, and this time, it was an entirely major league operation. So I felt like I didn't even really know what to do with myself, but just witness it, take it all in, and document it as best as I could, because this is not the sort of thing you're able to be a part of very often. And I felt lucky to be there because, as media, because this is not a ticketed event. This is not something that people get to go to. Again, there's just a capacity of 2,500 people, and that's almost all given over to the Little League teams and people associated with the players on those teams, as well as then people associated with Major League Baseball, the Phillies and the Mets. But it's not open to the public, although there was a cool element to it of just local fans, setting up down the third base side outside of the ballpark watching the game. And
Didn't they cut down a tree? Wasn't that one thing? Like somebody actually cut down branches on a tree and set up scaffolding to watch from the outside.
There are, and this is such a small town stadium. Beyond the outfield fence are just people's backyards and in fairly modest homes in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And I saw at least two scaffolds rising from these backyards. where people were set up on scaffolds that were erected in people's backyards that were high enough to, see over the outfield fence and take in the game. And I mean, and how cool is that? If one, I think it'd be pretty cool to live just near a minor league stadium like that, let alone be able to set up a scaffold in your backyard and watch a major league game is pretty cool, and it just added to the atmosphere.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but so much of what you do normally is try to see how a game is fitting into the community, what it's like to be in that area. Your slogan is exploring America through minor league baseball. This was not a minor league baseball event. This was very much a national event, right down to, like you said, the community not really being allowed in. It was mostly Little Leaguers and Little League associated folks getting to watch, from the stands. But how much was the community involved in this? How much was Williamsport promoting it as a team? How involved were they in terms of, fulfilling media requests and all that, or was it completely from start to finish a Major League Baseball event?
It really was start to finish a Major League event. In terms of going to the game, it's not like I just reached out to the crosscutters like I normally would, and they'd say, "Hey, we'll give you a credential at the press box." I had to email credentials@mlb.com or whatever the case may be, right, and go internally through their processes. Everything was through Major League Baseball processes. That's not to say the crosscutters had no aspect with it. The ushers were crosscutters employees. The front office staff was on hand to provide directions and put out fires, as it were, if any issues arose. All the food and beverage was done by the crosscutters as they would at a normal game. And I was talking to a woman at the concession stand. It's in the article, and she was saying one of the most interesting aspects of this night is how many of the kids don't speak English, and in terms of them communicating to the concession stand workers what they want by, pointing and trying to figure out what this is. And she's like, you'll see kids, put hot sauce on a hot dog because they think it's ketchup and that sort of thing. And, just a small detail, but I like that sort of thing. This type of thing you wouldn't think of, but that does affect how the night proceeds.
Right, and speaks to how much of it is not just a national event, but an international event, really, between, teams from Asia, Africa, Mexico, all over the place. So really cool. Then you go from that, you stay in the New York Penn League, you stay in Pennsylvania, you go to State College Spikes on Monday. What can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I drove right from Williamsport on Sunday night to State College, about an hour drive, and spent all of Monday in State College to see the Spikes. That's the way the schedule worked out. They weren't home over the weekend. So, I felt a little guilty that I haven't been to State College in 8 years, which is a very long time, and I show up on a pretty fairly dead Monday. School had just started at Penn State. I think it was the first day of classes, and so everything was kind of in a transitional vibe over at State College. Both nights I was there, when I got in on Sunday night and also on Monday night after the game, it was and I stayed in downtown State College. It was a full-on party scene, like you'd think, and I forget what day it is when I'm on the road anyway, and I thought it was the weekend, and after a while I was like, wait a second, this is a Sunday and Monday night, and there were just, these hordes of college kids just walking up and down.
Playing right into their stereo.
Yes, I couldn't believe it. There was across the street from the hotel, there was a house party that looked like out of central casting for a college house party. People all down not quite that, but just... And Biggie Smalls they were playing Biggie Smalls when I pulled up, and I was just like, man, that's the same type of party music I would have heard when I was in college.
The youth still have tastes. What amazing.
Unbelievable.
Amazing.
But that's neither here nor there. Where I'm talking about is Medlar Field at Lubrano Park, the home of the State College Spikes. I enjoyed this night. They had a fun time. I like the spirit of the Spikes. It was a Monday night. It happened to be National Radio Day, so they had that as their promotion. That's not the kind of promotion where people are going to be like, oh, honey, they're celebrating National Radio today.
I have a radio in my car. This means we have to go.
Yeah, but just little things they did throughout the night. On the staircases of railings leading down to the seats, they just posted facts about radio and radio announcers, just one of those goofy things you see in minor league baseball. My favorite element of it, and it made me laugh the whole night long, was that for the visiting team's walk-up music, which happened to be the Williamsport Crosscutters, who I didn't actually get to see play in Williamsport. So for all the Crosscutters walk-up music in State College, because it was National Radio Day, the Spikes played Radiohead songs. I mean,
which are not pump-up music.
and that was so funny about it. I mean, one, that's a very tenuous connection anyway, just Radiohead and National Radio Day. But a lot of those songs, and they played dozens and dozens of them, are atonal, kind of wispy and floating and a little off-putting. And I think Radiohead are certainly one of the most avant-garde or kind of hard to listen to bands that have hit the mainstream in recent years, and to hear these Tom York's vocals floating over these like skittery beats and wispy piano atmospheres all night long at the ballpark was pretty surreal, especially because it was one of those only minor league baseball nights where it was the completion of a suspended game followed by a 7-inning game. So especially when the night started at 5:30, fans weren't really there yet because the game was technically supposed to start at 7. So there's almost no one in the ballpark, and there's like Tom York's voice warbling all over the place, and there's facts about radio posted on the railings, and it was just kind of surreal. I enjoyed it. And it was Joe Putnam's birthday, who happens to be the team's longtime radio broadcaster. He wore a crown and robe and carried a scepter all night long and got pied atop the dugout at one point. And so they really played that up as well. So, it wasn't a super well-attended night. It was a Monday night, as I said, in a transitional time of year. It didn't rain, but it was kind of dark weather. So, not the kind of night that a team would love for me to show up at, when it's normally when you want some energy.
Right.
But, they made the most of it, and I had a good time. I hadn't been there in years. So I apologize to Spikes for coming on a Monday, but it was a fun Monday. I had a good time.
And honestly, I get more out of those stories when you are there, when it's not a big night, when it's not a big promo night, something like that, or you're seeing Star Wars nights that are across everybody. Everybody has one of those now. I get more out of hearing that a ballpark plays Radiohead songs for the opposing club. That is genius.
Yeah,
that is so good for something that's just a random Monday in August.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that kind of thing, and that's why when I get some guff from teams, and there's the whole joke that when I write a book about all this, it'll be called "You Should Have Been Here Yesterday," because that's what it always is. And team, this isn't a good night. You should have been here for this or that. But for me, it's like when you're there on the quote unquote off nights or bad nights, to me that's where you get to see a team shine in a way, because you get to see the energy and effort they put into the nights that aren't going to get a lot of fans. And I think when you do have teams like the Spikes just going all out for something like National Radio Day speaks to the spirit of the operation, which translates to doing well when there are big nights as well. So, and it's kind of more fun for me in a lot of ways to witness that, like you said. So I think there's a real benefit to that. And, if you're a fan of minor league baseball, you're trying to go to games all throughout the year. And it's not about just going to one or two nights of the quote-unquote best nights. So it's about having fun as much as you can for 70 nights a year, or in the case of the New York Penn League, 38 nights a year. And so why not? Just go for it. And that's what I really like to see.
Yeah, and so we'll go from that radio night kind of promo to talking about your upcoming promo preview. I don't know if anything's going to get you more excited about this story than the fact that you actually got to use penultimate in the headline. But still, what promos are coming out in the next week that kind of have you excited?
Yeah, well, we're heading up, believe it or not, on the penultimate weekend of the minor league season. And last week and this week as well, I've been able to kind of sneak in a promo preview column. They become tougher for me to write, as the year goes on and I'm on the road and just have a lot of road content. But try to keep up on the promos. So as we're coming up on the penultimate weekend, I got a column that'll be on the site tomorrow, Thursday, when this podcast drops as well. And I think there's a lot going on, so I hope you check out the column. Syracuse are playing 4 straight nights as the Salt Potatoes, and they have 2 bizarre giveaways during this homestand. On Thursday, they're giving away a quote upside down traffic light / salt potato snow globe.
Because those two mix
just
so easily. Whatever you're picturing at home is exactly how it looks, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And in a lot of cases, I can provide, being in my quote-unquote, I keep saying quote-unquote, expert role.
You can say quote-unquote expert. That's fine.
Right, yeah, quote-unquote expert. A lot of times it's my job to provide context for things that initially might not make sense, but I say, okay, here's why it makes sense. This is one where I still don't quite know why it makes sense. I can tell you that the upside-down traffic light is a real thing in a small town.
I remember we talked about that in the offseason. Yeah.
Tipperary Hill. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but that's nearby. It's near Syracuse, and it has this famous upside-down traffic light where,
it had something to do with like the Irish and the British, didn't it?
Yeah, where green is on the bottom and or no, the other way around.
Yeah, green is on the top.
Green is on the top and red is on the bottom. And it has something to do with the community's Irish heritage and something against the British. And I wish I knew the specifics
it's
of that
more or less just how dare the green light be below the red light.
Right,
so
exactly. This is some Irish pride. Then the Rochester comes into town against Syracuse for the next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And on Saturday, if you thought a upside-down traffic light / salt potato snow globe was a little too mundane for your taste, they're giving away a bobblehead of a salt potato, an anthropomorphic salt potato, standing on the logo of a Rochester plate. And that's because
that'll teach them.
Yeah, that'll teach them. That's because this is a duel of the dishes in which all 3 games against Rochester, Syracuse is playing as the salt potatoes, their regional delicacy, which, what is better than potatoes and salt. Against the plates, which Rochester plates, which is a reference to garbage plates, which often includes salt potatoes because Rochester and Syracuse, share a common heritage to a large degree.
Right.
But it's plates versus salt potatoes, and since Syracuse is at home, they're giving away this bobblehead of an angry, sneering salt potato with a pat of melted butter on his head, standing atop the Rochester Plates logo. So take that, Rochester, the duel of the dishes.
Is the butter supposed to be his hair? Is it supposed to be, is he bleeding from the cranium? I just have so many. He's angry either way.
Yeah, these are open to interpretations.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Then the next night, and this also segues into my next trip, Aberdeen, the Ironbirds, are playing as the Steamed Crabs for the second night in a row, second year in a row. I will be there on Friday to take that all in. They will take the field as the Steamed Crabs, and there will be a crab feast at the ballpark for those who buy that upgraded ticket. All you can eat crabs, team logo mallet, and I did not recruit an all designated eater for this game because crabs are gluten-free.
Oh, you can actually.
Yeah, so I don't know how I'll document that, but I plan on sitting down during the game with a mallet and just going to town on some crabs. That's for sure. So, and I haven't been into Aberdeen since 2011, so overdue to visit them. And that'll be the 5th and final stop, New York Penn League stop of August. I was in Brooklyn and Staten Island last week, and then had Williamsport and State College this past weekend, and I'm losing track of time. And then Friday, Aberdeen Ironbirds. And then I will actually make a return engagement on August 31st at Staten Island because I won a bubblegum blowing competition there last time I was there. So I'm going to take on Kurt Bavacqua, who was featured in the 1975 Topps card as the bubblegum blowing champion. And we'll see how that goes. And then the following day, I'll go to Colorado to visit Colorado Springs and Grand Junction, the final 2 ballparks I've yet to get to in the affiliated world. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, so we can talk about that next week. And so anyway, read the column, other things in there, Clearwater, suit, everything. See, in writing these columns, I'm always talking about teams and alternate identities. And then I keep saying the team will either suit up or the team will take the field. And I need more ways to express that. But Clearwater Threshers are, quote-unquote, suiting up as the Beach Dogs for their What Could Have Been night. An interesting one to me is, speaking of What Could Have Been night, Bowling Green Hot Rods initiated that concept back in 2009 when they were the Cave Shrimp. And that was the first ever What Could Have Been night where a team suits up as an identity that they could have chosen in their Name the Team contest. So now Bowling Green, almost a decade later, is now introducing a new concept. Instead of What Could Have Been night, on Saturday they're going to have What We Were night. And they're going to play as the Columbus Catfish, or the Bowling Green Catfish, because what they were before they were the Bowling Green Hot Rods was the Columbus Catfish. That was the franchise that moved to Bowling Green.
That's just throwback, though. That's all that is.
I like What We Were night better.
Yeah, sure.
But you don't often see throwbacks from a previous locale. You might see a throwback for a previous iteration of the team's identity. You usually don't see them say, our franchise used to play in this totally different city, and we're going to celebrate that. So the Columbus, Georgia Catfish will be commemorated in Bowling Green on What We Were night. Charleston River Dogs paying tribute to Toys R Us with Toys For Us night with a toy drive. Jeffrey the Giraffe will be on hand. Frisco Rough Riders playing as the Corny Dogs as a salute to the Texas State Fair, where corny dogs are one of the premier concession items. And finally, the Iron Pigs doing their salute to Philadelphia night which started their first Salute to Philadelphia night was when they were the cheesesteaks 2 years ago. This year's Salute to Philadelphia night is a tribute to the Super Bowl winning Eagles, who, if you recall, beat the New England Patriots, Sam.
I do recall, thank you.
Yeah, and their jerseys that the Iron Pigs are wearing are Eagles-themed jerseys, and they have a diagram of the Philly special on it, the trick play.
I also recall
Troy
that, yes.
Burton to Nick Foles at the end of the first half to give the Eagles a 22-12 lead in a game that they would ultimately win. So that's great. It's all great.
It's certainly great if you're in the Lehigh area and you're an Eagles fan. So that's plenty to look forward to this weekend. Ben, enjoy the trip to Aberdeen. I look forward to you actually being your own designated eater. Are you going to wear the shirt?
That's a good question. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't have my own designated eater shirt, so I might have to do that.
Will you wear a shirt with your own face on it? I think is what this is.
I will. I have a Ben's Biz shirt that is it's not a designated eater shirt. It's just one with my logo,
right.
And I almost never wear it. The one time I wore it out in public was to see Weird Al on the night I was going to meet him as part of my VIP package. And I just wanted to tell Weird Al, like, look, man, I'm Weird Ben. I got my own shirt. I gave Weird Al my baseball card, too. But I didn't like the way our photo came out, so I was really disappointed by it. Anyways, neither here nor there.
Anyways, well, thank you, Weird Ben, for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
I look forward to it.
A big thanks a couple of segments ago to Reid Cornelius of the Gwinnett Stripers and Benjamin Hill. There was one story that came up last week, the business of minor league baseball, that we didn't get a chance to talk with Ben about, but wanted to discuss a little bit, Sam, before final details come out on it. It's not a final go yet, but the Pawtucket Red Sox appear to possibly be on the move.
Yeah, so last week, this has been something that we've talked about, not necessarily on the show so much, but has been bandied about for a while now. What is the future of the Pawtucket Red Sox? A couple years ago, there was maybe a proposal for them to move to Providence. Then Pawtucket was trying to throw its hat back in the ring, and either, I don't know if they were trying to renovate McCoy, or I think they were going to build a new ballpark all entirely. But last week, the ownership group of the Pawtucket Red Sox announced in Worcester, Massachusetts, that they intend to move the team from Pawtucket to Worcester. They have plans drawn up for a stadium. Looks really neat, kind of in Worcester proper. That wouldn't happen until the 2021 season. That being said, and this is something that Ben and I have stressed when we've talked about this, because it's happened before. Just because a team announces its intention and the city got super excited and everybody back home where I'm from got super excited, the amount of texts I got of like, oh, what do you know about this? Which was, I knew as much as everybody else in terms of what they were announcing. It's not official and it's not finalized until the city and the state officially vote on funding for the new stadium. The league has to approve it. Minor League Baseball has technically trademarked the phrase Woo Sox. Which, there's the Paw Sox now. The nickname would be Woo Sox. It wouldn't be the Worcester.
Are they going to spell it WORCH Sox? But make people call it Woo Sox?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Just checking.
It would be the Worcester Red Sox. The nickname would be Woo Sox, in the same way the Paw Sox that's their nickname.
Yeah,
and I'm not here for your Central Massachusetts slander, Tyler. We're not spending a moment more on that.
The first three letters of Pawtucket are in Paw Sox, so I feel like it should be WORCH Sox.
No, that's not how any of that works. They did announce that I think it's going to be called Polar Park, which is named after the seltzer soda company that is based out of Worcester, which has me thinking, like, if that goes through, maybe they could keep the polar bear mascot.
Yeah, I was going to say that's very fitting.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to change branding too much, et cetera. I'm sure they still will because it's a new opportunity and all that. But anyways, that wouldn't happen until I think 2021 at the earliest. So there's the potential for only 2 more seasons of Pawtucket baseball. But in a city closer to me, where I grew up in Springfield, Massachusetts, there was a time where the Harrisburg Senators were going to be moving up to Springfield. Everything got announced in the same way Worcester just did it. The Eastern League was about to approve it. And then Harrisburg announced that they were actually going to stay. So we're going to stay on this. We'll talk about this more in the offseason and more as things become more solid. But just wanted to throw that out there because it was such a big event across minor league baseball last week.
MILB.TV is your place to catch up with the best in minor league baseball as we enter the final 2 weeks of the season, which is insane. But Sam, what are you watching on MILB.TV this week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still on Vlad watch. I'm going to be watching all of Vlad's game as much as I can. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for everybody who doesn't know, and if you don't know, I'm really surprised you found this podcast. But welcome. Thank you for listening to this whole thing. It took us this long to talk about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., which is a small miracle in itself. Currently, as we're recording, he's hitting 394. Looking to obviously hit 400 would be one of the first to do that across a full minor league season in decades. That'll be really cool. It feels like undue pressure that we're putting on him to get to 400 because he could hit 350 the rest of the way and that average would still go down, which is nuts because
That's amazing.
He is a 19-year-old playing at AAA, but the AAA Buffalo Bisons, AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays, of which Vladimir Guerrero Jr. belongs to. They are playing Pawtucket this weekend. Tune into as many games as you can of Vlad. The season's going to end. He's not going to get called up to the majors, barring a miracle. Get as much Vlad as you can before the season is out and see him try to chase 400. I mean, he has it in him to get there in a way. If I was to bet on any bat in the minor leagues, and I'm not just saying prospects, I'm talking about 30-year-olds. I'm talking about veterans who have been around forever. If there's somebody who's going to hit 400 this year, it's going to be Vlad over any stretch. So tune in while you can this weekend. Buffalo and Pawtucket, that'll be must-watch stuff this weekend, going forward the rest of the way.
I'm going to go to the AA Eastern League. The Baltimore Orioles have not had a whole lot to be excited about this year at the major league level, but at the minor league level, some things coming along. The Alma, Michigan native and Western Michigan product, Keegan Aiken, has been fantastic for AA Bowie this season. He was just named Eastern League Pitcher of the Week, and Keegan Aiken is set to go to the mound, I believe, on Friday. He last pitched on the 19th, so I think Friday will be the next start date for Keegan Aiken, but you can check that out at MILB.TV as he and the Bowie Bay Sox take to the field this weekend, coming up for an Eastern League matchup. We get close to the final couple of starts of the season for these guys, and it's interesting with pitchers because at this stretch of the year, obviously they're going to full pitch counts. There's no limits or anything on that, but these guys are exhausted by the end of the season. So for those players who are finishing strong, I think it tells you a lot about guys who are on good rolls toward the end of the year, and Keegan Aiken has certainly been that way for AA Bowie, so you can keep an eye on him. 14-6 with a 2.77 ERA so far this season is Keegan Aiken, and he and the Bowie Bay Sox will be taking on the Erie Seawolves coming up this weekend. And that will do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. I miss anything?
No, I think that's it. I think we got it all covered.
All right, good.
We got all the minor leagues covered.
We got everything covered. We covered absolutely everything. And you're welcome, America. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Long. We'll talk to you next week.